Welcome everyone, my name is Takreva and this is some Hearts of Iron 4. Going to start a brand new Let's Play campaign, and I asked you guys what I should play and the majority of you said Japan, but I'm not feeling really in the mood to play Japan. Fewer people said like the United Kingdom, and I was pretty much into that idea, and I actually recorded an episode already. But then I played a multiplayer game as the United States, and I sort of fell in love with it, because it's just something about it and being America, and that's just very interesting. And the way that you get to intervene around the world when the war actually breaks out and you get into the war, but until that point you're still suffering really heavily from the Great Depression, and it's going to be... the early game is going to be hard in building up your nation, in the sense that you cannot do a lot yet. But once the game actually starts, here by the way, United Kingdom, but once the game actually starts, you're gonna be, wow, you can just do whatever you want. You're such a blank slate, and that your divisions can be almost perfect, they can be big and everything. But you need to get there first, so the world needs to break out into war before you actually get to do stuff. Warning, of course, I'm recording this quite late, and that's gonna mean that I'm gonna be yawning a little bit throughout the... Sorry. Oh god. Throughout the episode. But I still want to provide you guys with the entertainment you deserve. So I'm gonna still play Dislikes Germany. That's the Roosevelt. He dislikes Germany. Dictator, Mussolini, a modifier, call ally desire is down for Japan, which is good. Anyway, the United States retreated back into isolation at the end of the last war and enjoyed a period of economic prosperity during the Roaring Twenties. This came to a dramatic end when the nation was gripped by the Great Depression. America's policy of non-intervention in foreign wars has stood firm, but tensions are rising in both Europe and Asia. The Great Neutral may find itself drawn into the maelstrom whether it wants or not. So I'm going to play as the United States. I'm going to keep historical AI focuses on for this one, because I'm like, yeah, you know, there needs to be a war to intervene. And in the multiplayer I played, it was going a little bit crazy. Like after 70 days, World War II broke out because France was like, no, you're not going to be allowed to take back the Rhineland. And then shit went down in Europe, and I'm sitting here like, yay, I'm just doing stuff. So the first few episodes will be a little bit slow, sort of, in the sense that they... we cannot do a lot. Anyway, let's, I'm gonna start this really quickly. I'm taking all the divisions I have in the Pacific and adding them to a theater. So this will be a new army. I will let it be commanded by one of my weaker generals. Stillwell seems like a nice guy. So this will be the, garrison, Pacific garrison. There we go, and this will be a part of the Pacific Theater. There we go. So now we just take these guys and start adding all of our areas, like Guam over here. Not what I wanted to select. Didn't want to select the Navy thing. Guam, that's... I think Wake. Over here is Midway. There are a lot of islands over here. So, also down here. That's French actually, so I don't need to take. Oh, is this? This? No, this is United States. I think that's Samoa. This might be Tahiti. Not 100% sure, but I think. Over there as well. Yes, we took that one. Guam. Yes. And of course here, Adu Island and Alaska. So that's our Pacific Theater done. all the armies we currently have 35 infantry divisions and 1 cavalry division. That is what we start off with. And if we divide by name, the big red one, the Indian head, and lots of cool names on the divisions everywhere. Not all of them are in the game yet. But the big red one was actually, I think, an armored division at one point in real life, at least for the European invasion. Other than that, we have 22 divisions here, and then we have 2 over here as garrisons. So I'm going to add these 22 to another army, and we're going to add them to a new theater that we're going to call the Atlantic Theater. There we go, Atlantic Theater. For now, I would like you guys to just get a full back line along our own coast. As you can see, when it turns yellow, it means that you don't have more provinces selected than you actually have in the army. So we're gonna assign you with Eisenhower, because that supply consumption might actually be useful at one point. That's you two, and finally I'm gonna add the last 2 to 1 more in the Atlantic Theater. That's going to be the Caribbean Garrison. Caribbean, that's double B, right? It's a rough word, Caribbean. And you're going to be led by Jonathan Wainwright. You're just going to be garrisoning this region and this region. But what country is this? France. French Caribbean, Leeward Islands, Windward Islands, Puerto Rico. Yeah. Down here we have Curacao, depending on what. So we have Panama and Puerto Rico. That's about it for our possessions. Oh, hello Europe. Anyway, so our armies are gonna redistribute themselves. Now let's have a look at our air force. We want to basically combine everything into single groups for the time being, single wings. So we're going to send all of our fighters to Maryland. It's going to take some time for all of them to get there. Did we send one? Yeah, we sent ones from Louisiana to Maryland. That's all of our regular fighters. Then all of our tank bombers are going to come to New Jersey. That's our tank bombers on their way. Then we have some naval bombers. Probably want to send them to California. That one's over here, yes. Because I feel like we won't be needing that many naval bombers in Europe. Because, if anything, we'll easily have naval dominance over both the Italians and the Germans. The Germans don't even have that much. So that's always a good thing. Now for the Navy. And we have, I think it's 256 ships. Hang on, let me check again. We start off with 36 divisions, 235 ships, 882 airplanes. And 400 convoys. That's reasonable. But yeah, we do want to get the Navy into different places. First, the fleet from the Philippines. You're going to go to the Hawaii Islands, to Honolulu. Pearl Harbor, basically. Then we have plenty of battleships everywhere. Bloody hell. And of course, the submarines. All the submarines on the west coast are going to come to Hawaii as well. Let's see, west. Then we have the Asiatic fleet is coming here. Battleships can come over there. The Navy's very divided, by the way. We have 15 battleships, and they're all divided in groups of 3. And I'm going to have the bulk of my fleet in the west. Carrier division, 2 carriers. That's about it. And I'm sending them to Pearl Harbor because it's Pearl Harbor. And nothing can go wrong if we have our entire fleet in Pearl Harbor. I mean, no. Funny fact though about Pearl Harbor, that one was actually, there's a chance. Oh, they don't even reach it. Wow. These guys are in California, but they cannot currently get to Pearl Harbor. I cannot rebase them over here. What if I first put their base there? Can I then? Yes, I need to put their base there first. It's them, then this guy too. Same problem, first I have to rebase them. There we go, that should have everyone coming to Pearl Harbor, at least that's on the west coast. Then I need everyone on the east coast. Or at least most of our fleet in the east coast is actually already where it's supposed to be. God damn it. Yeah, it's late at night, so the bugs are coming out, and it just squished when I was sitting on my cheek of all places. Jesus, what the hell? I was just sitting there. I think it might have been a mosquito, so I'm gonna have a freaking bite as well. This is our Caribbean fleet, a few destroyers. Just put you in a patrol mission and give you like a weakish admiral. Mr. Cook Jr. is fine. Over here we have our battleship, or all of our divisions in the Atlantic. I'm gonna combine all of our submarines. And that's giving us 37 submarines. I'm gonna temporarily put them in a different Navy base. So I can keep them separate, and the rest of our fleet can just combine. If we now look at our Navy, East Coast, that's the submarines that were just sent somewhere else, as well as the Destroyer Flotilla 3, because that's the most important one of all of them, obviously. We're going to give you better general, probably Nimitz. Nimitz probably the most well-known one. Atlantic Fleet. There we go. The Atlantic Fleet. If we look at the area, East Coast, Philippines. Philippines, I'm assuming you are all moving elsewhere. Yes, you're coming here, and you're coming here. Good. That should be... Hopefully everyone is coming, and I can always fix that again. So now we've basically are redistributing our army and navy a little bit around everywhere. Then that leaves us with basically getting the nation started. First off, let's look at our national foci. So with the US, we have a very wide tree, but it only goes deep underneath here. And all of these have to do with plans of attack. War Plan Black is war with Germany. War Plan White with the USSR. War Plan Red with the United Kingdom. And War Plan Orange with Japan. So, the fact, since we're staying democratic, it's just not going to be possible to go for War Plan Red, because that is a thing. Basically, the United States goes red and they can do that. The United States sort of goes fascist, but they don't need to do that. They go after the Soviet Union, but you can also do this if you're just democratic, because the democratic nations still don't like the communists that much. Now that's the prepare intervention area. There's some military stuff attached to it. Issue war bonds, basically it's the end of the Great Depression, but you can only do that when you're actually at war with a major nation. That's when you can issue war bonds. So it will take some time. The WPA, millions of people are still suffering the unemployment resulting from the Great Depression. An agency to put these people to work on public projects may not fully solve the problem, but the Work Progress Administration is a step in the right direction. And because we have the Great Depression, our political power only goes up by 1 every day. So getting the WPA is the best way of getting your nation a little bit more points, because you can take Robert Taft as a silent workhorse as the first advisor, and then you actually get a small ticking amount of political power. Now there is some more political power in the Tracy. The Giant Awakes here has plus 100, which is nice, but before you can even get the Giant Awakes, you need to have done war propaganda, which means either the UK, Soviet Union, German Reich, or Japan is in an offensive war, or one of the 4 has caused more than 20% world tension. Basically, once China is attacked, that can happen, because Japan is in one of the 4. It does not mention Italy, it does not mention France. Issue war bonds does mention those 2. The problem is that France can easily get a civil war going, as well as Italy just starts off in an offensive war against Ethiopia. So if you could take war propaganda from day 1, that would really be a little bit weird for America. What it does is it changes your mobilization to volunteer only, then prepare intervention changes your undisturbed isolation to just regular isolation, and then the Giant Awakes gives you a civilian economy, and you can finally start doing some things, really, some real things. But yeah, so after we get war propaganda, we need at least 25% world tension before we can get to the prepare intervention. Then we need 40% for the Giant Awakens, and then we need 75% for limited intervention. And US ACE is also 80%, or being at war. That's also a thing that's allowed. But yeah, it will take some time. Then we can finally get the arsenal of democracy. Anyway, further to the right, so that this is all stuff based on, well, we're going to war, we need to get the nation in shape to go to war. Over here we have the Air War Plans Division and the Bureau of Ships. The United States Air Force did not exist until after the Second World War. During the Second World War, it was still the United States Army Air Force. Or Army Air Corps. One of the 2. And basically through the Air War Plans Division, you get some stuff that is focused on going with aircraft. So you can either go with air support or strategic bombing. And historically, the United States went with strategic bombing. So it makes it 10% cheaper to build strategic bombers, which is pretty good. And I think that is probably the route we'll go eventually, but for now we're still kind of stuck with going to WPA first anyway. So we want to first get the nation in shape. Further to the right we have Bureau of Ships, which is a similar thing, but just gets your navy rolling. And it has a little bit more things. Expand the USMC, the United States Marine Corps. Basically here you can go for Marines. Here is escort and defense and stuff. And over here we have carriers or battleships. And obviously we're going to go carrier primacy because that was how it went. The United States got half their fleet. Well, a big part of their fleet was sunk at Pearl Harbor when the Japanese attacked. And despite the fact that Actually, I started talking about this before and I never finished my thoughts. It is thought that the idea for the attack on Pearl Harbor came from the Americans themselves, because they had exercises in which one of the generals or the group of generals that were on the offense, playing as Japan simulated forces. They were like, yeah, we're just gonna go in and drop bombs on Pearl Harbor and sink your ships while they're in port. And then the Japanese, like within half a year, suddenly attacked Pearl Harbor, killing a large part of the fleet in port. But unlucky for the Japanese, the Enterprise and I want to say the Yorktown, but might be a different one, they were out of port actually patrolling, and those 2 carriers became the main focus around which the US fleet was rebuilt. And finally there's the reaffirmed Monroe Doctrine, which basically allows you to start some interventions in the Americas, but the added benefit of these 4 Monroe Doctrine researches is that all of them give you 150 political power, which is a really good way in the beginning to get your power up. And then you get the Pax Americana, which means that, yeah, and all this combined will start taking up more democracy in the new world, basically. So I'm probably gonna go down that route after we finish WPA, and I will do the WPA first, then definitely Committee on Technocracy, and perhaps support Rock Island. But then that's probably everything we can do here on the left side, because war propaganda will unlikely be able to be reached until halfway through 37. And these three only get us 7 months into 36. So after that, I'm probably going to go for the Monroe Doctrine stuff, because that gets me more political power, which is very good to have. Maybe not all of it, because the Bureau of Ships is also quite nice to have. I mean, it does not actually give you more buildings to build ships, but it gives you a lot of research speed, which is really good to have. Anyway, so the WPA is first, and let's go to science. And we're going to go a couple of things that I've realized during playing a lot of multiplayer is that the construction, or well, all the industry research is just really important to get early on. Just really important. As soon as it unlocks, you should get those because it gives you boosts. And then there's, of course, mechanical engineering. It gets you more research speed. You actually get 10% on everything regardless. So, and that's another 2%. Then mechanical computing. We'll wait with that one until we have our Committee on Technocracy, because that gives a shit ton of boost to that. It just makes it almost, yeah, it makes the research really short. Synthetic oil, we're not going to be bothering with that, because the only thing we actually need to import is rubber. So that's fine. And if we really get problematic with our resources, we can always switch over to export focus instead of free trade. Excuse me. Instead of free trade, because that gives us 50% of our resources instead of 20%. But our final research, it's not going to be air yet. This is for a little bit later. Our doctrines are not yet important. We will want to research them early on, of course, but it's not that important. And I think I want to start with motorized. Because the thing is, when you start off as the United States, you get 10 military factories. But infantry equipment 1, you will need some more equipment, that's always true. But beyond that, there's not a lot of things like... Why would I be building all these carrier fighters right now? I mean, I'm currently already building quite a few things over here, and I'm going to add 2 more carriers to the list. Currently still have 5 dockyards available. I'm going to first do this to finish off these destroyers as fast as possible. And we're actually already lacking chromium and rubber. Then I'm gonna add in some more stuff on the Portland class so it finishes faster. That gets us all our dockyards. Then I'm gonna add 5 here and all 15 there. So when things are done, they're gonna swap over to other things to build. I'm also gonna add you to the the Atlantic Fleet. I'm going to add you to the one of the submarine squadrons, no idea which one. Portland class will also be added to the Atlantic Fleet, and so will the Yorktown, and I will build 2 of them, not just there. So, going back, so lots of the things you can start building will be obsolete by the time you actually, because before you get into war, you're researching so far ahead in comparison that building the old things is sort of a waste, except support equipment and motorized cars are actually, they don't age, they don't go obsolete. So if you have a huge stockpile of support equipment at the ready when the war starts, same with your motorized trucks, you'd be golden, and you can use that production then for other things. So I'm going to put 2 extra on support equipment, and just because we're going to need even more equipment, so I'm going to build more of those. And we're going to trade for chromium and rubber. We're going to need more regardless at one point. I'm gonna get chromium from the United Kingdom and rubber as well from the United Kingdom, for the simple fact that the United Kingdom is going to be in our faction at one point, and we want to boost them up as much as we can in the meantime, and giving them those bonus factories will help. Finally, so we started off with 10 military factories and 22 dockyards. We start off with 130 civilian factories, 130. But because of the Great Depression and being an undisturbed isolationist nation, we need to use 70% of our total factories to actually make consumer goods, which leaves us currently with 30 total factories to construct things with. Now, I want more things to construct with, so I'm first going to queue up some civilian factories, and I'm going to queue up 12 of them for the time being, so we can, there will be people trading with us, so we will get some more factories, but I want at least 3 full lines without having, before we can drop our undisturbed isolation through prepare intervention and giant awakes. Before that is even possible, I want to have at least 3 lines going of construction, so that's why I'm doing these. After that, we're probably going to go into military factories, so I'm going to queue up a few already, like 3 here, 1 there. And the best part about it all is, we will not have issues with bombers coming all the way over here. So our resources will be fixed as soon as we unpause. And that is everything, actually. And I'm gonna unpause next time, because we are already on 27 minutes long video. So, that's my setup for the United States, and I want to thank you all for watching. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up to date in the future to follow this Let's Play. And I'll see you guys later.